How's it going this week, everybody? This week I'm going to be having Elijah on, and he saw a very interesting creature while he was out playing with his brother. It's very Skinwalker-like. We had a pretty decent conversation about whether he thought it was a dog man or a Skinwalker, and I think we came to a pretty good conclusion. It's very weird, and I'm glad he came on to share that story today. Also, by the way, thanks to everybody that's been signing up for the membership. If you are interested in the membership, you can head over to challengeoftheunknown.com and check it out for yourself. You can get early access to new episodes before they come out. Thanks for listening.
Well, when we moved to Minnesota, it was around 2012, 2013, early 2013. And my midsummer, a month or so before school was actually about to start again, my little brother wanted to go out to a spot of the woods where we have never been before. And I told him, all right. I just went and grabbed my other brother. And we packed a bag with the pocket knife, matches, stuff like that. And we started heading for the spot where we haven't been before, through a pasture behind the house, as we had roughly 80 acres to run around on. And my brothers, playing in the snow, ran considerably larger distance ahead of me, and I was walking up to them at my own pace along the edge of the woods, and I noticed a bundle of flowers that I thought my grandmother would really appreciate. Beautiful flowers. And I went down to pick them up, and that's when I heard my brother yell or say, "Hey." And I remember him saying, "Hey," 2 or 3 times. And then I didn't think nothing of it until I started looking around and seeing my 2 brothers way ahead of me playing in the snow and fighting around, pushing each other. And that's what threw me off. And then I heard him say, "Come help me." And I just froze for 5 minutes or so, looking around, trying to see where it comes from, because I seen my brother 400 or 500 yards ahead of me playing with my other brother. So I waved my hand to get their attention, and they actually noticed me. So I motioned them to come on and follow me back up to the house. And when I turned around, that's when I noticed the large coyote that to me seemed like it was really offsetting, because it looked like it had its front paws over the side of one of the trucks that my grandfather had parked all over the yard. And it was right at the beginning of the bed, right up against the cab of the truck. And it looked like it was peeking around the corner of the cab of the truck. And I remember staring at this thing for about a good 5 minutes before I turned around to motion my brothers to hurry up. They were a lot closer than they were before, but they still were taking their time. So I motioned them to come on, and as I'm doing that, I hear behind me where this thing was peeking around the truck, and I hear my brother say, "Hey," again to me. And that's when my panic mode set in, and I remember running back to the house as I'm motioning my brothers to hurry up. And when we got to the house, that's when my brothers noticed how distressed I was. and asked me what was wrong. But obviously, I couldn't really at the moment explain to them what happened. So I kind of just shrugged it off.
So I wanna go back to this creature that you saw. So you described it to me as like mangled, like it looked like it got hit by a car. What kind of details could you see on this animal or creature or whatever it was? You said it looked what was the word you used? Like rotting flesh almost?
Yeah, like it was like bits and pieces of it was rotten off of its face, and I had noticed a distinctive like crookedness to the snout as if it was broken.
What about the eyes? And then was this thing bipedal, do you think? Do you think it was standing upright?
Yes, I had noticed um below the truck. I seen the bottom half of its legs, and one of the legs looked pretty broken as well. And the eyes, they were, I remember them being a real dark reddish or a black, just jet black. But it was good. I was about 30 feet from it, so I couldn't really get the greatest of detail. And, I was real younger than I am now at the time. So I just remember them being real blank, no whites to the eyes, like they were just a solid color, just a real dark color.
Yeah, man, your story is really interesting. I want to get to what you think it was, but I'm kind of torn, man, between the Dogman accounts and the Skinwalker accounts because when I hear about Dogman, I don't really hear about the rotting flesh or anything like that. At least in my experience, I could be wrong, and I'm sure there's more stories out there that I need to go listen to and hear, but it sounds like that's more Skinwalker territory where it's all mangled and messed up. So
Yeah, I've also read on other reports I've read it about encounters with a Wendigo, and that actually kind of fits the description as well.
yeah, man, no one really knows what these things are, obviously, and there's a lot of accounts of them, and everyone's kind of varies a little bit. So it's kind of hard to categorize something like this, and unfortunately, all these people that have stories like this get written off as crazies, which is unfortunate because people are seeing something, man, and I think these stories
Yeah,
need to be told.
it's unfortunate, and obviously the world is a really big place, and I don't think it should be limited to just the normal stuff that people know about. Because, like you said, people are seeing something, and there are way too many people, in my opinion, that see these things to just have people write it off as crazy or hallucinations and stuff like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, man. So what do you think this creature was? Do you think it was a Dogman? And then where do you think these creatures come from, if I can ask that part?
Well, what I believe it was more along the. If I had to guess between the three creatures that we mentioned, it would probably lean closer to a skinwalker, only because the reports that I have read about Wendigos, and they all the reports seem to describe it as more of a stag-like creature, like a deer with antlers and stuff like that. And it just definitely was canine. And the thing that throws me off from a dog man would be the vocalizations, like the mimicry. And I haven't really heard or read of the most encounters describing them as having that ability.
Yeah, man, I think you're right on the mark there. I think I'd have to agree with you if I were to speculate because, I don't hear about that with the Dogman, at least like I said, in my experience, could be wrong. If you have a story that's more along these lines, please send me an email. My email's out there for anybody listening. But yeah, man, I'd have to agree with you. This sounds like some Skinwalker stuff. It's really creepy, man. Is that the only time you've had an experience out there?
No, actually, I have not. I've had a pretty similar experience when I took my brother and his girlfriend out camping with me when we moved back to Florida.
So, do you mind sharing that story? What happened there?
Well, basically, my brother called me real early in the morning and said that he had wanted to go out to this trail that him and his buddies have found, part of the national forest that we have right outside our town. And we decided to take a day trip and just spend the night camping. We were gonna try to go do a little bit of fishing and roast some marshmallows and stuff like that. That they really haven't experienced outdoors like that, so I wanted to try to show them and get them to experience that firsthand for themselves. So I took them out there, and mind you, we had to buy a tent along the way because I didn't have one. And we pulled up to the forest, and we drove down this small cut that I don't really think we were supposed to be on, but we went anyways. And we found this perfect spot that was in just a small clearing that wasn't too far from a stream. And we had started setting up the tent and stuff, or I had started setting up the tent while I had them go find a bunch of wood for the campfire later in the evening. And after I had finished setting up the tent, it was right around the same time they were coming back from the woods with bundles and bundles of sticks and logs, stuff for the fire. And since we had everything set up, we decided to gear up and head to the stream just to check it out. So we brought our fishing poles and a tackle box just in case it was the right type of stream to fish in. And it was a good, I want to say a mile, not even a mile, probably half a mile. It was a good 30-minute walk from the campsite to where the stream was. And when we broke the woods to see the stream, what we first noticed, what everybody noticed, a horrible smell once we were coming out of the woods to the stream. And it was just a rotten meat, like a dead animal smell that was god awful. And when we walked up to the stream, we noticed along along the river line, the stream line, was a bunch of dead fish, like dead fish everywhere that looked like it had bites taken out of it, like as if something took a bite out of it, didn't like it, and threw it to the side. Like that's the vibe I got. And the smell was just so bad up against the streamline. And we know we since the timing was kind of bad and the smell was just so god awful, we had decided to say screw it and just go back to the campground, because by the time we got to the stream anyways, it was already starting to get a little dark out, and we wanted to get back to the campground before nightfall so that we didn't take no chances of getting lost out there. And when we get to the campsite, everything was normal for a little while. We had started the campfire, and we had started roasting the marshmallows. And after eating a couple of them, I had to take a leak. So I told them that I'm going to go into the woods and go take a leak. And I walked probably a good 30 feet into the woods, and I find a tree to take a leak on, and as I finish, I hear my sister's voice, my brother's girlfriend, like pretty much see as my sister since I've known her quite a long time now. But I hear in her voice say, "Can you come here?
Ooh,
Come
just
here."
like last time.
Yes, and that's what threw me off. After all these years, I went back to the camp. I rushed back to the campsite, shaken pretty much, because that was the first time since the first encounter that I've noticed anything. And I've been camping numerous times throughout the span of, I want to say, 5 or 6 years since the first encounter. And I remember walking up to the campsite, and both of them noticed that I was shooken up. So, like last time, I didn't want to freak them out because this was pretty much their first time camping. I didn't really want to ruin the experience for them. So I kind of played it off like I had just seen a squirrel scared me. I can't really remember what I had told them, but I tried to play it off all cool and collective. And we had decided, I told them we were going to get into the tent and try to go to bed early so that I could try to go to sleep and put all that mess behind me. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night. If I had to guess, it would probably be around 4 in the morning, 4 a.m., 4:30. And as I woke up, and I'm just sitting there and I'm listening, and I can hear like twigs snapping and underbrush crunching, like something was walking outside the tent. And I had assumed that it was probably a good distance before I noticed that it was getting closer, and it was getting louder, as if it was walking closer towards the tent. And as it got closer, I had noticed a heavy, like raspy breathing noise. And what freaked me out is that the crunching of the underbrush had stopped. And I didn't hear nothing walking around, but I still heard the heavy breathing. And in my mind, I was thinking that this whatever is out here just walked up to our tent and was like checking us out. And that made me real uncomfortable. And I just remember trying to put the pillow over my ears to try to block out the sound. And I eventually fell asleep. And the next morning, we had all woken up, and when I didn't mention to them about the previous night. So we got out the tent to go start packing stuff up to leave. And the first thing we seen was our cooler that we had brought was real messed up. And it was just really messed up. Like something had picked it up and beat the crap out of it and tossed it from near the campfire where we had it. It was leaning up against the tree to the left of the tent with everything that was in it just thrown about the campsite. And that's when I decided to hurry up and roll the tent up and throw it in the truck and make sure the fire was out, and we just kind of peeled out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's a terrifying account, man. Whenever you get that validation, when it happens more than once, that's really that really sits with you, man. So I guess I want to ask, do you think skinwalkers are like a biological entity, or do you think there's something else, man?
That's a tough question because, like, as a younger person, it would make sense about because, like, I've read that I obviously did my research and had read that they're pretty much witch doctors and do all kinds of stuff with black magic and stuff like that. And but I mean, before I seen or heard any of the crap that I have seen and heard, I probably would not believe it in a sense. But now that I've actually seen and heard, it really it makes sense and it doesn't make sense to
Right.
me because, like, obviously it was a physical thing that I have seen, but at the same time, there's nothing else that I can think of that would be able to mimic my family member's voice almost to the T. But what was weird about the mimicry was that even though it sounded just like my brother, it it kind of had this like weird thing to it. Like it sounded like it was being played through like a recording. Like someone had recorded my brother and played it back at a louder volume.
That's creepy, man. You know, I don't know what these things are, man, and I'm glad you came on to share that story. I think that the audience is really going to like that. I've done quite a few other Skinwalker episodes, and the audience has responded very positively to them. And it's honestly hard, man. I'd say about 50% of the people that I try to have on for Skinwalkers will pull out last minute because, you know, they just get too freaked out by it. And I'm glad you came on, man. And I'm sure some people are going to write in and say that they've seen the same thing or experienced the same thing as you. So thanks for coming on, man. And if you're all good, I'd say we wrap this up.
Oh yeah, yeah. I appreciate you having me on the show and stuff like that, and to have me explain what happened actually for the first time publicly.
Yeah, anytime, man. I think that, you know, people are seeing something, and it's not good to hide that stuff. So I'm glad people are coming forward and talking about it a lot more now. But yeah, man, we're all clear, and I will send